Thank you for visiting my YouTube channel and for watching this video. Here I will try to show you how I would design a 5-point star knob for woodworking projects and for jigs and for things like that. My software of choice for this example is Inkscape, which is free to download and free to install, and it's compatible with both PCs and Mac computers and Linux computers, I think. So let's get started. Whenever I start a project, I tend to open a couple of useful windows. First, one of those is the transformation window, and another one will be the alignment window, which I can find here. I would also like to change my document properties and change my default units to millimeters. Please feel free to use inches if that's what you prefer. It doesn't really matter for this particular example. And get out of there and save. Now, because we're using vectors, the actual size of the final knob doesn't really make a difference, so I'm going to just create a star knob design using an arbitrary size. And the first thing that I'm going to do is press the control button. I'm using a Mac, and create a circle. I'm going to press the X here so that the circle doesn't have a fill, and I am now going to come to the alignment panel, choose page, and ensure that the page is centered horizontally and vertically on the page. The circle is centered on the page. Now, what I'm also going to do is to turn on the snapping panel. And the thing that I would like to do is first to create a guide and bring the guide to the center of the object that I created, this circle. And this might not make too much sense right now, but when I create the knob and also want to create a hole for the threaded rod or whatever I want to create to stick in there, you will see that this is quite helpful. At the moment, the intersection of the crosshair and the center of gravity and the center of the circle and the center of gravity of the page are all exactly at the same point, which is not going to be the case later on. Just bear with me and you will see what I mean. Now, the other thing that I'm going to do is to create a smaller circle. Again, that's arbitrary. You can choose whatever size you want. I'm just going to bring it close to the center, and I'm going to just eyeball the position where I want it, the vertical position. The horizontal position is perfectly centered to the page, and you can verify that by clicking there. Alright, now one more thing that you need to keep in mind is that in Inkscape, because this smaller circle was created after this circle, this essentially sits on top of it. But so that you are absolutely certain that this is the case, you can use a color for this one and color this one and see that this is actually sitting on top of it. And this is important because what we're trying to do is to actually remove this from this, and you will see how easily this can be done. Now, if I click one more time on this smaller circle, you will see a cross appearing for the center of gravity for that. And I'm going to take that and move it and bring it at the center of the page. Now, if I go to the transformation panel, I can click on rotate and key in 72. And the reason for that is because I want to create a 5-point knob, and 5 times 72 would be 360, which is a full circle. and now I'm going to Control and D for duplicate and apply, Control D for duplicate and apply, Control D, duplicate, apply, and apply. And I have my 5 points. Now if I come here, select one, press the Shift button and click on the bigger circle, I can come to Path and look at this. At the bottom of the screen you will see that it says create the difference of selected paths, bottom minus top, which is exactly what I want. And also note the shortcut for that so that we can use it for the consequent processes, and click on Control and minus and do it like that. So now if I do click and Shift click, Control minus, this and this, Control minus, this and this, Control minus, and this, Control minus. Great. I don't need the fill anymore. I can come here and either click X here or come to the bottom of the screen and click X there. It's exactly the same. And I don't need that any longer. Now, if I want to cut a solid button, essentially I'm done. But if I want to cut a hole in the center of rotation of the button, okay, you will now realize if you click on that, that although this looks fairly close, it is not where it used to be. Okay, so if I come here and click on that and click on the object, you will see that the little cross is no longer coinciding with the actual center of gravity with that object. So if I want to cut a hole for the threaded rod, I will need to bring it not to the bounding, to the midpoint section of the knob, but to the midpoint section of the guides. And if I come closer and I zoom in, you will see that this is the actual place where this needs to be. So if I bring it here, it needs to be the midpoint section of the guide. And I can zoom out again. Now the knob is ready. Depending on how you're going to actually create that, you will need to select the appropriate size. I can get rid of the guidelines now, you don't need those anymore. And there are many ways to do that. One of those is to click on the little lock item there and ensure that the proportions are locked, which means that you can create or you can adjust the size without worrying about the object being distorted. Now in my case, I am going to use a laser cutter for cutting all the knobs, so I'm going to ensure that I follow the specifications for cutting, which in my case needs to be full red in order for the beam to cut, and the same for this. And the stroke style needs to be very specific, but this is not something that concerns you. And this is our 5-point knob design. I hope that you enjoyed this and you learned something or found this video useful. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you have a good day.